Roll this on. Wait for it to tell me it's ready.
You got too many burns in there, please take them out. Okay.
Okay,
Okay,
it should be recording.
okay. I'd like to call a meeting of the ad hoc City of Holiday Island Committee to study advertising and promotion in order. And I'd like to roll call. Sharon Lawler is representing the city.
Here.
Ken Brown is representing HICID.
Here.
Aspen Vaught is representing short-term rentals.
Here.
Bruce Holland is representing food service.
Here.
Vern Anderson is representing Hi-Pro.
Here.
And I'm Peggy Lodewijk, representing the Chamber of Commerce, and I was nominated to chair the committee. After the committee shares our findings, we will open it up to public comments and questions. Mayor Dan Keyes gave the ad hoc study committee for advertising and promotion the responsibility for three things. It was to determine, one, the potential source of revenue for the advertising and promotion. Number two, an estimate of the annual revenue potential. And number three, what would be the most beneficial uses of the A&P revenue? So Bryce, you represented a research number one. What did you determine about the sources of revenue, please?
Well, it's limited by the state law to pretty much short-term rentals, hotels. We don't have any hotels here. And that first percentage was based on the STRs that have already filled the responsibility of registering at this point. We could take some estimates from where we got some numbers on their yearly averages for revenue, and kind of come up with a percentage of those. Same for the food. Food is limited to hot prepared food going out the door. Outside of that, there's no other avenue to go after. It's pretty limited.
And we also found out it's kind of easy to get the numbers from Airbnb and Vrbo and the other formatting of rental, because they would collect these for us and would we give it to the money to the A&P Commission. My job was to forecast what the annual revenue potential was. And I did an analysis, first of all, by literally talking to all 7 of our food providers. And they were good enough to give me an estimate of what they make every year. And I totaled it up and it was like 1.4 million. Now, a lot of the A&P will get 1% of those revenue. And that would be a potential income to the A&P Commission of $14,427. Now, I did 3 different analyses based on income of our short-term rental. Right now, I understand we have 57 short-term rental under the continual use permit. We also, we've heard that we might have 135 more. So my first analysis, again, these are just 3 different looks. My first analysis was if we had 200 short-term rentals, and I talked with someone who said he knew that some short-term rentals in Holiday Island makes $7,200 a year. Some make $80,000 a year, and that's because they're like on the lake and have multiple rooms. So I was advised that the good average was 28,000. So in doing a 28,000 on 200 short-term rentals, I came up with a revenue of 5.6 million. Now, a lot of A&P commissions charge 3% of that revenue, which would generate $168,000 revenue to be used to advertise. We also did analysis. If you took Air DNA does an analysis, and they say the average is about 43,000 income. And if we took that times the Airbnbs that we know about, it come out to like 2.8 million. So that potential says that's another 85,000. The third idea was AirDNA does an analysis, and they were able to pull out for me all the short-term rentals in zip code 72631. Now we know some of 72631 is on West Eureka. So of this 381 short-term rentals, I chose to take a half, 190. 190 times the 43,500 would give us 8.2 million. At 3%, we could get 247,950. So we have three different analyses saying what our potential revenue would be. And the other interesting part about it, because we're advertising the city to bring in tourists, once you bring a person in, they're going to spend money at our restaurants. And a rule of thumb was every person would spend about $13. That's just average. So then we would collect an additional 1% on that. So our income would come up to another 13,000 just from restaurants. So the more tourists we bring in, the more money that we get to spend. And if you consider the fact that you go to Rogers, Bentonville, Bella Vista, you're paying the 1%, okay? And now 60%, we understand about 60% of our income comes from tourists. It's the tourists that would be supporting the Airbnbs, get the income, and the tourists that are eating our food. So we are deriving benefit from those people that are visiting us. So this gives you some idea of the potential revenue if we put in the 3% on a short-term rental and 1% on food. Okay, then the most beneficial use for A&P revenue, we asked Vern to look into that. And what did you find out, Vern? What were some of your ideas to use it?
Could we ask a question first?
Oh, yes, sir.
When you say, Peggy, $13, is that per day? And if you stay here a week, it'd be 7 times $13.
Mhm.
Okay, 13 per day.
Per day?
Okay.
But before we move on to
Yes, sir.
uses, can we discuss that? Because I
Most
think,
definitely.
that, the most important part of the whole discussion is
Okay.
the revenue potential.
Yeah.
Good idea.
We have a representative on the committee from that very industry. How do you think that the numbers that Peggy is using, how do you think that stacks up? Does the average, in your experience, does the average short-term rental in Holiday Island generate, $40,000 a year in revenue?
I mean, I think it depends on the location, and so, yeah, yes and no. I mean, I think that, for some of my owners, if I pay them out, they're maybe getting 24,000 a year, and some may be higher. So, most of the ones that I have are 2 bedrooms, so that's a lower rent.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there are bigger homes. So I think an average, yeah, I mean, 40,000, 30 to 40,000. But I mean, still, that's quite a bit of money to use for advertising. So I mean, even if we were to get just half of that and pump that back into advertising, then we could grow more.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And if we use like 28,000, we were coming up to like $1.8 million, which is 54,000 revenue for A&P.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other comments or questions from the committee? Because we'll open that to the public afterwards.
I had a question. Do you have rentals in both Eureka Springs and Holiday Island? Are they similar in terms of, like, we have some on the lake, they may not have the lake, but they have up near the Crescent or whatever. Is it difficult to sort of evaluate what type of rentals we have in both cities? In terms of cost per night, and then also what we would gain out of the tax.
Can you please repeat your question? I'm sorry, I don't understand the question.
Okay. Eureka's get 800,000 visitors a year. And we
Right,
get maybe 20,000.
right.
But we have some very fine homes, mainly over on Lakeside, they're right on the water,
Mhm.
they're near the marina, so forth, that Eureka does not have. They have
Right.
Lake Leadwood, okay?
Mhm.
So what I'm trying to gauge is when you said, yeah, that's a pretty good estimate. Is it where the units are located, or how big they are, or how luxurious they are, or what all factors into what you said?
Well, it does have to do with the updates. People want to stay in places that are, nicer, nice furniture, and it all has to do with pictures, like we can see, like going back to the Airbnb. So this is actually what I'm on, no wake zone. So, and actually both of these are, this one actually rents better than this one. I mean, location, but this one's right on the lake. So, um, to be honest, it's a crazy thing because like this is a mystery to me why this one is not, it doesn't rent that great because the furniture's great, the bedding, um, well, it's king size beds
Uh-huh.
and,
When you say no wake zone, are you saying that?
that's the name of this property.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But you don't have big speedboats flashing.
Yeah.
Right,
I see.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Go jump in the lake, that's not for me. Okay, I guess.
So, what draws the customer, or the guest, I should say, I think it has to do with like how they're placed. This one does better. It rents a lot more. Um, and it could have to do with like the greenery. It's really hard to say.
Yeah. Thank you, that helps me. Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions on?
Like if you're on the island, those seem to rent more than the ones not on the island.
You know, having zero experience in something has never stopped me from commenting on it. But my guess is that, in Eureka Springs, you can probably get away with having an older, not so nice place and still get it rented because you're in Eureka Springs.
Yeah.
Out here, I think that the, the people aren't gonna, and investors aren't going to be looking for that kind of, they're not gonna be looking for an old house in unit one to turn into a VRBO.
Right.
They're gonna be looking for a nice place on the lake with a lake view, or a nice place on the golf course or something, so I would think that, we, the Holiday Island rentals would be at least average on the nightly fee, rental fees and stuff like that.
And we understand from the rental platforms that they're very fussy. If someone complains to the rental, they stop renting all of the units owned by that person until it's solved.
Right.
And then if there's 3 legitimate, they don't take them anymore.
Okay.
And an advantage for us too is we've been given samples of a contract that we work with Airvira and Verbo and whatever, where they do all the collection. So it's not like we're trying to run after every single one.
Yeah. Well, the final comment I'll make, and Lynn is aware of this, there's several homes that have been sold or about to sell in Holiday Island, very nice homes, over 300,000. And the buyers are going to ask to turn them into Airbnbs or VRBOs. And they're buying, one was a friend of mine, they're buying all the furniture in it. So they're moving to Wisconsin, they're gonna sell everything, sell the house, sell everything in it, move their clothing from closets, and away they go. And they were very delighted, and they're waiting, I think, Glenn, for March 12th to 13th is the next hearing. And they have a contingency in it. If it doesn't, it's not okayed for an Airbnb or a rental, then they won't buy it. But they're very excited. The owners and the friends of mine for years are very excited about that, so, and that was true for them.
Where'd the buyer from?
They're from, Illinois.
Okay, so-
Now, before, okay, are we ready to move on?
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Madam Chairman?
Yes, I think so. Are we ready? Okay, so then we're gonna go for the most beneficial
Yep.
uses.
Just stomp on my foot,
No,
and
you're just,
act like I'm taking over.
that's fine.
But I did wanna, before we get into, Vern's things, I did wanna point out a couple of things, and I don't wanna do this, in the Debbie Downer fashion, anything. I just wanna make sure that we understand a couple of things about the law. Under 2675-606, which is use of funds collected, there are things that are specifically prohibited. One is general subsidy of any civic group or chamber of commerce,
Right.
prohibited.
Mhm.
The other is the authors, it doesn't say prohibited, but the authorization and limitations contained in this subsection shall be reasonably construed so as to provide funds for promoting and encouraging tourism and conventions while not allowing such special revenues to be utilized for expenditures that are normally paid from general revenues of the city. So, we need to be aware of that when we're looking at how we're gonna spend the money. And I bring that up specifically relative to Hypro, because I think this would prohibit us from giving money to Hypro. Because Hypro doesn't exist to promote tourism and recreation, they exist to sell houses, to promote home ownership.
Well, I think you're totally wrong on that, Mr. Mayor.
Well, that's your stated
Yeah,
purpose.
as a matter of fact, on the start of our letter right here, it says, "We are volunteers that help promote Holiday Island. We are not realtors.
Mhm.
We are not realtors. We're not selling, we're not putting homes
But your
out
name,
ads."
but your name says promote.
I know, promote real estate ownership, and I wish we'd I broke names because it sounds like dog food, you know? But we were in a hurry to get moving in 2016 because
Yeah.
as far as we're concerned, it was a disaster with 150 homes and condos not selling, and those selling were $50 to $70 a square foot.
Mhm.
And so we found out that there was no advertisement going on. The developer had stopped his ads. We were not in, the only thing I knew that we had ads was Arkansas, for the, golf in the Eureka Springs little flyers. So we didn't find any advertisement at all, any significant amount. And of course, HICID said they had a limited amount they could spend. We went out and asked for memberships and got $25 an individual and $50 from couples to pay for it. And all that original $12,000 that we got, which is how much total, that all went into funding the advertisement that needed to be done. And two of it were shows, and we bought our own 700 leads two times, I guess it was. So we've done that, and what we are promoting is Holiday Island's lifestyle. Your realtors, they're putting their stuff out there, and they're just putting their pictures out there. And whether they push ads in California or not, I don't know. Let me tell you a couple things real quick, because I'll talk you all for a long time on this whole issue. But first of all, the sheet of paper you got, this is from the latest lead package, I think the one that you guys funded across the thing. And basically, leads, 71% of them come from about 15 states. And we're talking 700 leads, so we're talking about 500 of the 700 leads are happening in 15 states there. Arkansas happens to be the largest, but the places we get from those leads, we get an email, we get names, we get phone numbers, we get addresses, we get states, we get cities. So it's very good information that we're getting. These people have gone to, and they should start from scratch. This is from an Arkansas travel guide and the Arkansas State promotion area. And they're using their advertiser, CJRW, to do this type of thing. And what they do is digitally, they pop a special digital ad in there for Holiday Island. Tells it's a full page little ad that's separate from the one that's already in the book. We paid $6,000, or not we, Heisen paid $6,000 to put an ad in the travel guide, the hard copy, and it's also in digital. But there's a second ad, and it's listing people, places that you want to get more information from. So here we have people coming to the state of Arkansas, travel guide. They're looking at the state of Arkansas. That's one, automatically that's a gold star. Then they're picking places that they want to know more about. And Holiday Island comes up with 700 people that want to do it in about 2.5 months of them running that digital ad. So we've had people wanting Arkansas, wanting Holiday Island. Now, why does all these people from Arkansas want Arkansas, Holiday Island? First of all, just on a quick glance, most of those people are southern Arkansas. I don't know that the towns, they sure weren't popping my mind. They're not anywhere near me around here. And I suspect that there's a certain number that want a vacation here, looking for a different vacation, getting up close to Branson and close to Eureka. Sounds like a good idea. But I do believe a certain number of them are the things, the economy's bad, farming's bad, alligators are bigger, and the dadgum, storms are worse, and humidity is worse of all. So I think there's a certain number of people that are thinking about moving, want to stay in Arkansas and thinking about moving north. Now that's just a guess, but it's the case. But Texas and Louisiana have been a lot of the people that we've got. We have movers from Texas and Louisiana. But here's the states that are going, and you can see how they're not like a giant number other than Arkansas, but they do add up to 500 to 700 leads across this, and there are people wanting it. And that's what we're after, is people coming from preferably places like California. We've had quite a few California people, and they come in here and they usually pay cash for their house, and even offer, sometimes they'll go offering more than what you're asking for the house to get the thing locked up. So it's a real plus that we're dragging in people from out of state who can afford these homes, and we turn homes really kind of fast, unfortunately. Our people who come here are older, and then they don't stay as long in those homes.
But they visit first.
But
They're
people
tourists
visit
first.
first, that's right, and that's the first guess. And the timeshare has probably been one of our bigger providers of people. It's a little less so now, but more, because those people it became kind of a favorable place to timeshare, and those people didn't have any trouble trading it so much. So we get people coming in and they see Holiday Island and say they like it. They play the 9-hole course and they like it. You know, they just so it's been that kind of situation. So I'd like to say again, we are not realtors, and we are selling Holiday Island, not anybody's home. And we don't have any realtors on our.
You know, eventually it would be up to the commission, you know, if it gets to that point, to decide, you know, how the money gets allocated. I'm just bringing it up to make sure that we're focused on what the law says the money can be used for. And if you read the law, they use the term convention over and over and over again. It's like this law was written for the convention centers in Little Rock and, you know, Hot Springs and, you know, Northwest Arkansas, not necessarily for little towns like us. And, you know, that's what they were looking for. They want to build convention centers and bring people in from all over, and so, but at any rate.
And in addition, research, in addition to the idea that HiPro's doing, you know, we have the Arkansas Travel Guide, and we also have the Fun Guide. And, you know, once people get to Eureka, they're looking for something to do, and the people want to do day trips. So we started advertising, you know, in the Fun Guide. Then we did the Visitor's Guide, okay? And, you know, the Visitor's Guide, 250,000 people looking at it in hard copy and digital. Fun Guide's the same way. The other ideas are, we looked at billboards, because people were looking at billboards, and some of the billboards go for $100 a month, some go for $2,800 a month, depending on the size. It can be a static one, like the traditional that we're used to, or it can be digital. So all of these various things could be looked at, and a signage like on 23 where everybody turns around because they don't see anything. Something like a sign on 187 where it has golf, marina, free parking, restaurants, something like that. So when people are driving and so there's a lot of variety. I talked with Madden Media, which is the one that Eureka Springs is using. And they would be more than willing to look at what we're doing, and they design, they intelligent, they give us statistics. So the committee that would be the A&P committee by law is 2 from the food, 2 from the government, 2 from the lodging, and 1 what extra out. Okay, and there the research said that there are like 13 different ways to effectively market the city. And one of them is digital, one is content marketing, one is local partnerships, another is events and festivals, tourism initiatives, investor and business outreach, city branding, community engagement, infrastructure development, cultural and art promotion, green initiatives, public relations, and feedback mechanisms. So the committee, once the agreement that we need to go this route, has all these varieties to consider before they make the plan. Yes?
And I have something that I want to add to that. So, something that just came to me. I think it would be really cool if we could get like a professional golf spokesperson to be here to film them and maybe do a commercial or have that video on our YouTube or our website. Maybe having a professional fisherman, at the marina, just kind of trotting around,
And they're saying videos, the
Mhm.
short-term videos is what people look at and listen to,
Yeah.
On the websites.
And having a spokesperson, like having somebody who's a professional, that's going to have so much value because all the people will want to go to the golf course that they're at or the lake that they're fishing at.
See, so there's a lot of good ideas on how we spend the money, and that would be up to the committee.
The last number I heard was that Eureka Springs draws 1.2 million visitors a year. I think our number one task is, how do we get half of them out here? Just as, if half of them come out here and spend $5,
That's right.
we got it made.
And we have things that they don't have, including the peace and the quiet.
Yeah, they don't know we're
And
here.
free parking, as well as the restaurants and the marina. And there's so much more that the marina with the paddle boards and the canoes,
Kayaks.
and kayaks.
I think that's an excellent idea, that, videos of people having fun out here and things that, because, there aren't that many true family things to do in Eureka Springs, but there's lots of family things to do out here.
I'm sure I had a question about how much is currently available from either the HICID Board of Commissioners or from the city for advertising. I sort of know your budget, Madam Mayor, but what is available on your budget for advertising the city of Holiday Island?
Right now, we have $2,000 a year in our budget. That's it, because we didn't really have any source of revenue for, that's why, that's the whole point of this.
Yeah.
How can we come up with revenue to do what we need to do?
Well, ours is limited also because of the 212 lawsuit, and I think we've spent that each year. Sometimes it wasn't, and I was concerned about that, but it's sort of a small amount that we need to increase a lot. Yeah, and that's why I'm glad of this committee. What do you think?
We're about the same age, actually. Yeah.
Great, thank
Are
you.
there any other comments from the committee relating to how, or ideas for sources of?
Well, I wanted to ask her on the HiPro, was it 12,000 total you've spent on different methods of advertising?
Yeah, that's what's been spent so far. Well, about not quite 12,000, about 10,000. Maybe we're still got about $2,000 right now.
Okay.
Again, HICID pays all the ads. We do not pay any ad money directly to it, except when we want to do our own ads. We actually did some ads with Branson, and we did buy our 700 leads on our own, I mean, for that, with that money, but otherwise, it's all been spent on advertisement type deals, and we did 2 shows too, which are kind of expensive, and I think maybe a waste in the long run, but what we do have right now is about 2,000 people who are on our, MailChimp's a new cost for us. And, across that, but we have 2,000 plus people on that who have been built up over the last 2 years mainly. And we don't have, the drop rate is very low. Now, what would I say about that drop rate? I hardly ever unsubscribed anything. I just erase it off the page real quick, because I just don't ever know whether I'm gonna get stuck with something if I do something wrong. But nevertheless, I think there's a lot of people in there who are, have short range, maybe vacation plans. I think there's a lot of people in there who probably they're going down, they're getting ready to retire. We talked about the most people who ever have turned 65 this year, are going to turn 65 this year. And so there's gonna be a lot more people looking for places to go and things to do, and I think that we're on the short list, or perhaps the long list for several people who are still looking at us, and that's a plus, and that's, keeping our name out there in all those states is a plus, and the best way to do it is through the Arkansas Travel Guide, which again, Holiday, ICID pays the basic 6,000 ad, and so far, I think it paid this year already, I hope, so.
And with these billboards, there are certain companies that concentrate just in Carroll, Benton, and Washington County. There's other ones that'll bring people from Branson, others from the south, you know. So depending if they choose billboards, there's various companies that will design and they target from certain areas, so they have a choice.
Yeah.
And subsequently, you know, the mayor had asked us to determine the appropriate procedure of how to do this. And many of us talked with the municipal league and passed that on to the mayor relating to the city.
Okay, I have nothing to say about that.
Okay, we're still researching. And
Yeah,
we'll continue to research how to do it.
At some point, we will have to, the city council will have to pass an ordinance, authorizing or establishing the, you know, the tax and the commission and ordering the election. And I still don't know exactly how you order an election if it's not by petition. But I'm sure that Justin Eichmann, our city attorney, who basically Blake, Gary, at the municipal league, you know, recommended that we actually talk. He recommended Justin Eichmann as a source for us to talk to, not knowing that Justin is our city attorney, because he said Justin knows more about this relative to small towns or small cities than probably anybody that they know. So anyway, we'll get good counsel and advice from Justin as to how to get it on the ballot. But I did read in one of these, I printed off all of the codes that apply. And 2675-602 says that the governing body enacts an ordinance levying or increasing a tax under this section. The governing body shall submit the question of the levying or increase of the tax to the electors at the earliest date permitted for a special election under 711-205. And we all know now that you can only have special elections on election years, so they're really not special anymore. And so the November election is our target. It goes on to say that where does it say about the earliest date? If the earliest date permitted for a special election under 711-205 is less than 75 days from the date the ordinance is enacted under this subsection, the election of the question needs to be moved out to the next election. So you have a 75-day window from when the city council approves it. Now, there's different, we'd need some clarification on this too, because, we have a 30-day window. By ordinance, we have a 30-day window where people can challenge an ordinance. So if we pass an ordinance, on 3 readings, even if we do them all in one day, from the time we sign that ordinance, somebody has 30 days to challenge it. So I think that 30 days has to get added on to the 75 days to get a clean date that this is the day that the ordinance is in effect. So, that would put our drop dead date of the, July meeting for us, for the city council to do the 3rd reading on an ordinance.
Okay.
So that's our target, the July meeting, and that would be, that's kind of the drop dead date.
I was gonna say, that's
We
the
might
current
wanna
reading you
shoot
need to
for
be-
June instead of, July.
Yeah.
And I think to remind folks that, the A&P tax is paid by the tourists. They're the ones that are coming to our Airbnbs, and they're the ones that are eating. And sure, we all go out to eat at a restaurant, but you're talking a penny on every dollar. And you're talking 3 pennies on every dollar? Okay, and you're talking about when you go everywhere else, you're paying these taxes. So why not encourage our visitors to help us support the amenities that they want to enjoy and that we want to enjoy? So, is there any other comments
I
from?
have one question, Mayor, Mayor, would we have to go through the Secretary of State to get the question, approved?
I don't know that.
That's been a vote of contention lately.
Yeah.
On several issues.
Yeah, I don't know who approves the wording of what goes on the ballot.
Okay.
That's on my list of things to find out too.
It seems more cut and dried of an A&P tax than marijuana or medical marijuana or something like that. That
Yeah.
have been in the news lately.
I wouldn't discount the fact that we're gonna have to do a little salesmanship on this, to convince people that it's money well spent, and,
I think Peggy brought up a good point that it's the tourists that pay it. I live in Steamboat Springs, Colorado. We had about 3 million people a year skiing there, and the tax was really huge number of dollars coming through. But we always said, for the homeowner in Steamboat, which are very high home prices, but the tourists coming in to ski, we're paying all the food, the beverage, the hotels, the ski resorts, and same with Breckenridge, where I live near. But so we're have 1.2 million maybe, but it's not 3 or 4 million. But when we formed the city, in some of the forums we had over at the pavilion, and Linda, you were at most of them, if not all. We said, well, we're not going to have tax, and we didn't say promise no tax, but going forward, it wasn't going to be that the city would lump a bunch of taxes on you as well as the CID. And so some people remember that, but this is a little bit different than a property tax or a
right.
sales tax at the grocery store.
That would be our argument, because we did all, raise our right hand and say, no new taxes unless it'll offload something from
Yeah.
the suburban improvement district and
Right.
have an offset on assessments.
Right, thank you.
You had
Well, I just wanted to, add to that about the businesses that will benefit from this. People will be able to stay in business longer because there's gonna be more people coming in to buy their product or service.
that's very true. Any other comments from the committee? Then I would open it up to the public, and welcome. We're glad that you all were here.
I heard a comment being made that these facilitators, marketplace facilitators collect all the taxes so that we don't have to worry about it. From what I've read, the A&P tax is collected by the renter or the owner and has to be remitted to the city on their own. It's not collected by the organization that collected the bill.
That's interesting, because Sandy Martin had said, and they gave us sample contracts that were signed with some of these. So you know, I don't know, we'll have to
Here again.
I can
refer
speak to
that.
that, yeah, so Airbnb does automatically send that over. Verbo does if you do not have another system, like a third-party system, like a property management system, so I do. So every month, my bookkeeper sends my, taxes, all that information to the city and to the state.
Okay,
So if it's direct booking or Verbo, if you have a PMS system, then you send it in,
okay.
so we do.
So arrangements can be made then for this third
Well,
party
and
to
it's,
do it.
it is actually on the, property manager or homeowner to pay those. But Airbnb, like I said, that's automatic.
Okay.
Is VRBO too?
I will,
If,
I had a bed and breakfast in Kansas City, and I did with Airbnb and VRBO, but people that rented from me myself through my service, I sent all of the taxes in myself.
That's true.
Quarterly.
That's case, yeah.
So I will say, but it's an honor system, but we paid everything, cause I had city tax and all of that, and I submitted it quarterly, but, it's not a big deal.
well, and I wanted to speak too, so this goes back to everybody having a CUP, so if everybody who has one is not sending in every month a reporting, cause I have to send that into Eureka, whether we do sales or not, we're having to send something in every month.
Yeah,
Yeah, cause I had to
and we'd
report
have to
everything.
specify that in our ordinance, what, you know, how the money is gonna be collected and stuff like that, so.
And again, you know, with my properties, I don't send it individually, I just send it as a lump sum coming from my company, so I
Right.
don't know how they know, you know,
Yeah,
how I
and that-
manage
that's-
it, but.
The people I've talked to, the cities I've talked to, and people on the government side of it, they all basically say that, they know they're not getting 100% of the tax that they're due, and they have no way of finding out how much they really are owed. So it is somewhat of an honor system, but the, you know, the major players are going to, you know, play by the rules. Is actually the very first entry. They started out the whole section of code with the penalty.
Right.
But it says any person or entity liable for the additional 1% gross receipts tax. So, if you're a city of the first class and you have a city park that's over 1,000 acres, you can charge an extra percent over the 3%. And this penalty clause here only, you know, pertains to that.
Well, I think
So-
Kansas City charges 10,000 a month.
Yeah, I think it's probably in their city ordinance.
Right.
And we will have to have a penalty in our city ordinance
Right.
too. All ordinances do.
Any other comments from the
Sorry.
floor?
Yeah, I was on Vern's comment and Dan's reply about whether the city could fund or give him any money for Hypro. I agree with you, can't, but you can still have the same kind of arrangement we have today, where they recommend or they organize or they do the legwork on getting ads ready and available for us to purchase, and you pay for them.
Yeah, that's what we do with the high school, we don't,
Right, I don't see why
no
that
money
wouldn't
exchange
work at
between the
all,
two of
because
us.
You're paying for the actual product
Yeah.
and letting them do the legwork maybe for it.
And they get good statistics, cause they know where the
They
people
do.
are coming from,
Yeah.
so that's where we might continue adding advertising.
And I think you could also pay for leads in the same fashion. I wouldn't see anything wrong with that, because you're not giving it to any person or group. You're just paying that media group that collects the leads. You could pay for billboards through them or whatever, you could, yeah, anyway, I think that might work, and what
That's
else?
my vision, a digital billboard right where that turnaround is.
Oh,
Yes.
North of Eureka Springs, that says, turn around. That's their 4 miles.
I was gonna say, at one point in time, this has been several years, when Barry Story was kind of helping advertise Holiday Island to a great extent, and, you know, publishing the booklets we sent to people, and he was getting all that done. He also In fact, you can see them still on the, YouTube. There's some commercials that were shot by KY3 that they did for free. For us, I'm not sure, we gave them golf,
You do some co-oping.
yeah, you do
Mhm.
You
co-op.
can do
Trade.
co-oping, you do some
That they can
trade
do
co-op.
giveaways for their, in part of their
Right.
advertising their channel. And they could give golf passes and stuff away, and in return, they will shoot a commercial here interviewing somebody.
I think
Yeah.
they still do that because you see commercials on KY3 all the time
Yeah.
for golf, at this golf course that nobody's ever heard of before,
But we haven't been taking advantage of that since they're
Yeah.
left, basically.
And
So-
that's what the A&P Commission would do. They would organize exactly what you're saying.
Social media pushes.
Mhm. And boost,
and
that's true.
boost, yeah, it's very important
Oh.
with the younger generation.
The other thing I thought of was, I think have to be careful about saying that, the A&P tax is not contradicted necessarily by our saying that we would have no new taxes after we formed a city. People have to understand that as a city grows and starts taking on services and doing more for our public than maybe they had before, or improving life for the public, that's taxes are gonna come as a part of that somehow or another.
Yeah.
And we have to factor that in, so let's be careful on what
Yeah.
how we phrase that if we're advertising A&P taxes to the public.
It's a new service.
And the bottom line is, it's, the people decide.
Yeah.
That's why it's on the ballot. The people decide.
Yeah.
If they think it's a bad idea, they'll vote it down.
Mhm.
Well,
It's a
then we
new
move on.
service the city's offering.
Yes. You had a comment?
Could I ask your name, please?
What now?
Can I ask your name, please? How you spell
Oh, sure. Is this for the papers? Linda Graves, I'm a city council person.
it? Graves?
Yes.
Thank you.
I think Linda brings up a good point. I'm Ken Brown from the Board of Commissioners. I'm John.
You wanna spell it so that it ends up right?
I'm John Doe from Aurora, Missouri. But I think Linda brings up a great point because we have Board of Commissioners assessment of benefit, which half of you in the room probably understand and half of us don't understand really well, but there's a terminal point of the SID, the Suburban Improvement District, is going to go away. And I won't go into all that, but what we think will happen was the city would have to take on more and more responsibilities and or a tax and several taxes. So what we're trying to do is we're going to meet with the city. We've had a real good relationship with them, city council, and trying to figure out what that cut point is when the SID is paid off their AOB, and then there's no more money coming in from assessment from business and homes, and then the city would have to pick up ad valorem taxes like Carroll County does. And my best guess, and from Wes Stilley, who's an expert on this, would be about 2041, 2042, which is 2024 now, maybe 19, 18, 20 years. So at some point in time, if our budget is 4.7 million, we're gonna have to look at the city and other ad valorem taxes or A&P taxes or whatever. That 4.7 goes down, something has to come up for roads, sewers, water, fire, police, and so forth. And particularly, this is an important committee that I'm glad I'm on because we're trying to grow the city. We're trying to grow more people, bring more people in. It's a wonderful place, and I think we can do it financially and make it a great place to continue to live. But we've got to have the money to do it, and I think it's possible.
It kind of goes back to why we incorporated as a city in the
Yeah.
first place.
Yeah.
Prior to the city incorporating, 100% of everything that had to be done here in Holiday Island, everything that had to be maintained, everything that had to be built, acquired, every salary, all that cost had to be borne by the property owners here, because we had no outside revenue coming in. We incorporated, we're bringing in the turn back money for roads, which We have to have a plan on how to spend it. And we're getting a percentage of the sales tax from the county, which we never had before. And, you know, and this will be another opportunity to bring outside money in here and have everybody else help us pay for our stuff. Yeah, we go to Eureka Springs, we go to Rogers, we go to Branson, we go to Las Vegas, and every place we go, without exception, we are paying huge taxes to pay for their stuff.
I love.
We need to bring some of those people here and have them pay for our stuff.
Right on.
Can I add to that? Yeah, you know, that is true. And when you look at it, HICID has been hamstringed from the get-go, from the time they were founded, in terms of being, well, the developer was advertising as long as we had a developer. That ceased to happen quite a few years back. And so HICID has not been able to fund advertising to any great extent, which is apparent by the shape our lot sales and everything else is in. House sales go pretty good. We have about what, still 3,500 lots that aren't developed?
Yep.
And people need to come in here and buy some of those lots up. And some of them are excellent lots.
Build more short-term rentals.
Build more.
And
You
then
know,
more A&P goes up.
Get tourists in here that wanna live here when they see the great lifestyle here.
Yeah, they do.
You know, so if we, you know, use this as an opportunity to generate that kind of advertising that would bring people in here to build homes to live in, or homes to rent, or, you know, apartment buildings or whatever, that could be rented out short term and get more tourists in here to add to our economy. If you look at any other tourism town in Arkansas, they have an A&P tax.
Yeah.
And otherwise they don't survive. If we don't have something funding our advertising, we're not gonna survive.
Well, and you have more people, they're gonna eat at more of our restaurants, more restaurants will come in.
That's
They'll be doing shopping, more of our businesses. will
And
come
we
in.
complain as residents out here that why do restaurants not survive out here? Because we can't give them enough business by ourselves.
So true. And the tourists.
Yeah,
Which is
The
staying
art-
back to the idea, we are a resort community and we keep letting it drop off
Can't
because
forget
of
that.
the thing that, but we are a resort community. It's what's fed us in the past and it's gonna
And it
gonna
helps
give
the
us a lot of
lifestyle
going
too.
forward.
It
To be
certainly
that.
does.
yeah.
Okay, are there any more comments from the floor? Are there any more comments from our committee then? Would we recommend meeting again? We were thinking Saturday, the 16th at 3:00 to enable our people that are working or whatever. Would that work for the committee?
16th, that's not this.
Not this-
Saturday,
no,
so
it's a week
another
from-
week. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Which would give us a little more time to develop more from the
Get-
city council. and
Get some
municipality.
answers on the ordinances and stuff that we're still fishing for.
That, Madam Chair, that would work fine for me, but I had another question about what the mayor brought up about, the drop dead date of, sort of an ordinance.
Yeah.
Why would we wait till July? Why we would, not?
Well, I'm not suggesting we wait.
Oh.
No.
I'm just saying that's the drop dead
Okay.
date.
Good.
Yeah, I personally, I was hoping that we would get it onto the city meeting
Yeah.
here in March.
Sure.
I think
That's
the,
why I
you
was
know,
hoping to have another meeting.
maybe the number one priority for, you know, from tomorrow on until our next meeting
Okay.
is to nail down how to get something on the ballot.
Okay.
Who has to approve the wording? And,
Gotcha.
I probably should be the one contacting Justin Eichmann about that.
Okay.
We don't want, since he's on the payroll for the city, we don't want every time Dick and Harry calling them and cranking out $200 an hour.
If other people have additional ideas how they think we should market the city, because you're all from different areas, you know, we'll add that to the mix. So that when the mayor appoints the A&P commission, should that be, they would have a long list of already research that they could determine how they want to approach it right away.
Well,
Is that great?
I also appreciate the press here because if we get more people that say, well, I didn't know they were thinking about that, and we could have 20, 30 people here, I think it's better. We get a lot of input, we hear the good and the bad and the ugly, but we get a lot of support, and I think that would go to work. That's why I'm going back to the incorporation city. They had, what, 8 or 10 meetings over at the pavilion, and sometimes there were 12 there, sometimes there were 20, 25. And it really, really, really sold why we needed to be a city. Well, this is the same thing. What are you having a tax for? What is this called? You know, and we
Yeah.
just explain it, explain it, explain it, and that would be a good thing.
That'd be good.
Let's think.
And the other,
I do wanna say, since I won't be here on Saturday, but I will send an email with all my ideas.
I would like that very much so.
Yeah.
Okay, then are we ready to adjourn? Are you-
One final thing, though, I hope that we work with the chamber and members to push the issue of, one of the big growth issues that happened here was people here invited their family, their friends and stuff and so forth. So we're making packs that people can take, put their own little letter in there along with our advertisement that we have in there. And then put their address on that to send to the family members and friends who wanna come here. That helped a tremendous amount in the past, and I don't know if that function's gone away or not, but I'd like to think not. With all these new people moving in, we're thinking they ought to be bringing their families in and seeing what's
The
happening.
Chamber of Commerce, has opened up a new, location at 6 Forest Park Drive, Unit C, and we're encouraging volunteers to help us staff from 11 to 3. So we are working on renting a billboard at 187 and 23, whereby we're going to say Chamber Visitor Center. So people will come into the chamber and we'll have the literature to encourage them to support our locations, to answer questions. So we're always looking for more volunteers, and the ones we have been very good because they understand, and we'll have a computer so they can do the research to help our people feel comfortable and to share with them what beautiful area that we have here, our lakeside community.
Great.
So, okay, if everyone is okay, I think we'll call the meeting right then. Thank you very much for coming, folks, and for the committee hard work that they've done.